Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 33, Part 1. His hands had turned to prunes from today's endless load of dishes. The weather was at a perfect range of temperature, and people wanted seafood, enjoyed under umbrellas on the sidewalk. Chef Jack had a smile on his face plenty of times this weekend. Everyone was firing in unison, meaning there weren't lots of botched orders or unruly guests. It was a profitable and smooth weekend, if not brutally busy for the employees. Porter was expecting a little more money for this weekend as appreciation from Jack. However, he was more excited to get home to the computer. The weekdays were busy because of student council meetings and the odd meetups at the clubhouse in Glen Hill. But the weekends he could chat with Ben and some of the others for hours on end. He was working first shift now, so there was no need to always stay up until the middle of the night, losing sleep, and possibly rousing Dad's suspicion. He had a tall stack of dirty white plates to his left on the shelf, which was part of the stainless steel sink. He grabbed the top one off the stack, and his fingers slopped in a small wad of cheesy grits. Before this job, something like that would have disgusted him enough to remove himself for a moment. But now, even a wadded up snot rag on a plate or in a bowl was sadly normal fare. "Later, Larry," Porter called out as he brought in bright bluish light by opening the kitchen door. "See ya, pal," Larry said without taking his eyes off the searing ribeye. Porter was home before he knew it. The fewer people on the bus, the fewer the stops. He tried not to walk too fast to get home because it was just like when you had to pee. The more you rush, the more it drives you crazy, threatening to come out and wet your pants in front of everyone. The weather still held up, and it was a shame to Porter that he knew he'd be inside for the rest of the day, but the world was opening up. He still hated the heap, and possibly everyone in it, but the story these guys told, and the tech they had access to was incredible, and he just had to know more. He definitely would never tell the guys at Sons of Fount, but just as equally, he'd never tell anyone on the student council, even though that excluded Inez. He told Inez everything, yet he wasn't worried. He trusted her, and that trust was deep for some reason, but he'd rarely given himself time to ponder on that. As he turned the corner to his street, he could clearly see Stan walking slowly from the house to his silver Alpine with his head down. Porter was purposely walking slower than normal, and yet he still made it to the driveway before Stan was backing out. He waved at the oddly serene-looking 19-year-old and stared for a moment. Stan beeped his horn and rolled down the window. "Brat, come on, get in," Stan demanded. Porter looked at his brother, and then back at the house, and then lowered his head and walked to the passenger side of the car. He truly did not want to go, but this was the most Stan had said to him in a week. "We're going to Waffle Inn," Stan said as Porter sat down, closed the creaky door, and snapped on his seatbelt. "You're in a good mood," Porter said, trying to distract himself from thinking about home. "Things just make sense today. The world is messed up. That's just the way it is." Porter never knew Stan to get philosophical at all, and actually he opposed such thinking, writing it off as queer or nerdy. And Porter carefully stole glances at Stan's eyes, and they looked wild or like he was high on something, but there was no smell of weed or alcohol. "We have it good in Fount, don't you think?" Porter asked. "If you have credits, and we don't, especially now that... Anyway, you'll understand when you're older. This whole thing, like life is only serious if you make it that way. That's why I have a sense of humor." "Ain't that the truth?" Stan laughed and patted his brother's shoulder and gave Porter a compassionate look. Now Porter knew something was definitely wrong, and he tried to observe his brother for clues as they rode down Miles Road with the small ranch houses. The talking had fallen off once they made it to their table at Waffle Inn. They sat one table over from the window with the light painting half of Stan's yellow face white. Stan brushed his shining hair out of his left eye and read the menu, even though they'd ordered 5 minutes ago. Friggin' starving here, man, Stan said. They got good pancakes, Porter added.